now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning, everyone. Where's Blake and Aaron? Oh, let me check on Blake and see what's going on. Here we are. I was worried.
The animals are in the house.
So there you go. All right, it is time now to check out what happened over the weekend. Did anything happen?
Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Hey, Blake and Aaron. I was wondering if you guys forgot me this morning.
We didn't forget you. We had to play some audio from that's technical. Don't worry about it. We were here. We were watching.
Yeah. Had to get a winner.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What's going on?
How was your weekend?
Fantabulous.
Yeah. Okay.
Your daughter's better? All's good?
Yes. Oh, thank God.
Good. I mean, then we all have sick kids, no matter what. Obviously, we weren't in the emergency room or the hospital like you had to be.
Yeah. And I saw someone over the weekend and they were saying to me that their niece was also in there for the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
She had to be hospitalized for 4 days. I was like,
Jeez.
wow.
That's crazy.
It's been bad.
So what happened over the weekend? What do we miss? Any news headlines?
Sure. We had we had a shooting. We had a stabbing.
A stabbing. Okay. Almost what's the trifecta? What's the next? Oh, the quarantine breach.
There you go. Trifecta.
And 7 potential quarantine breaches. And we always have to keep in mind that they are potential until they've been fully investigated. And then
I saw I saw the voice note from Franz Manderson. I didn't get a chance to hear it yet. Did you hear that?
Oh, yes, we have it. And we're going to play it this morning in the show.
Okay.
So basically France is telling them to get it together. people, stop breaching quarantine.
Mhm.
It seems to be a situation. We're going to get into some details of exactly what's going on, but it's more people visiting the location as opposed to people coming out. People wanting to drop stuff off and pick stuff up, and you can't do that without following the correct protocols.
Mm.
So I think the protocols are you have to stay 6 feet and can't be there more than 5 minutes or something. Is that right? Something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's contactless,
Right.
and I don't know that everybody seems to know what that is.
Okay.
Well, that means no contact.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
All right. So then I saw the one that you posted up on Facebook about someone on Cumber Road.
Yeah, I mean, that was an alleged breach again. The details were a little bit sketchy. But we did reach out to the RCIPS and we got some confirmation because there was a secondary rumor to that about the Bordentown police station being in lockdown, and that turns out to not have been true at all. And thankfully, we were able to, suss out exactly what was going on there. So it was some sort of domestic incident where the police were called, and they're saying that a woman potentially breached quarantine. I think she was supposed to be in quarantine, but she wasn't found until later that morning. So I guess they're carrying out full investigations, and then they'll let us know from there. But there's 2 quarantine breaches in court this week. We will definitely cover those because I think a lot of people are interested to hear what the circumstances are for some of these.
What's really crazy is in 30 days, none of this even matters.
Yeah.
And
no
people
quarantine.
are falling. Well, that's still not
Right?
It's not.
Yeah, I mean, if it happens, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like everybody's concerned about breaches of quarantine. I understand it's the law now, but hey, guess what? In a month, there isn't going to be a quarantine. So are we ready for that? I guess is the question, right? Because
I think most people are
freak
not
out.
mentally ready for that. The way that I see them losing their minds over the weekend.
Well,
So-
I'm actually surprised. I don't know if anybody can confirm this or not, but I did go to a couple of stores. Their staff is wearing masks now. They're making you do the hand sanitizer again before you go in the front door in some stores. Somebody said that
I think you have to wear masks at Kirk.
at the supermarket at Kirk that you're required to wear a mask now when you shop. Is that true?
Well, we actually did a story on this late last night, might have been early this morning. So for Kirk's, it's still optional, but they're encouraging it.
Okay.
And I think for a lot of other locations, it is mandatory. So we're seeing a lot of people moving back to the COVID-19 mandates, mask wearing, sanitizing, social distancing. And so there's that. But yeah, I read Kirk specifically because I was trying to remember if it was Kirk's or Foster's that had said something about it. And in fact, Kirk's wording, I'll just show it to people really quickly, just says that they are recommending it. So it says, we encourage all customers to wear masks while shopping, sanitize at the store entrance before entering, and, just that they're committed to providing a comfortable, clean, and safe environment.
Recommended. Face mask. Recommended.
Yes, but other places like the Water Authority and a few other locations, it's not recommended. It is being, people are saying this is what you need to do. So,
Well, we have that Delta variant out there. how's your family member doing?
She's okay. She actually doesn't have any respiratory symptoms at all.
That's great.
Ironically, she's in the hospital for Delta, but not really, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, this is the really super weird part about this whole situation is had she not had other health issues, she wouldn't be in the hospital at all. And presumably, no one would even know that she is COVID positive or Delta COVID positive, which says a lot.
She's also
Number one, it says a
vaccinated.
lot about people who are vaccinated and the protection that they do get from the vaccination because she is vaccinated. And it also, shows you the importance of knowing that someone can be completely asymptomatic and still have it. So you can't go by the fact that someone is coughing or whatever other respiratory conditions you think might go along with it. They may have none.
I have some crazy statistics to share since we're talking about it right now.
Yes, is this the one that I saw going around yesterday? I'm going to share that as well.
This is just something from CDC, the latest CDC studies.
Oh, okay.
and which they published on Friday, shows that unvaccinated people are 11 times more likely to die from COVID-19.
Oh my gosh.
Than
You
those
and
that
I
are
are in the
vaccinated.
same wavelength this morning. Because
Even among the Delta variant. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I've got some super interesting information because one of the bits of misinformation that is constantly out there is, why bother getting vaccinated at all if you can still catch it? It like blows my mind that people keep saying this, despite the fact that, we've done everything to explain to them. But we've got some awesome videos this morning, as well as a graph that really brings the point home. And if anybody walks away after this, still asking that question, it's because they just don't want to know.
Well, that's the problem.
This really brings it home.
I think there are a lot of facts, and yeah, I saw the CDC. I mean, it's insane.
It's
to see this
astronomical.
stuff, and
It's
people
a huge
to
difference.
still look at it and decide that they know more than all this.
Yeah.
So let me read a couple more stats. So yeah, you're 11 times more likely to die from COVID-19 if you're unvaccinated, which is a crazy amount of number. Even among the Delta variant, one study found that the unvaccinated were 4.5 times more likely to get infected. So 4.5 times more likely to get infected, 10 times more likely to be hospitalized, and 11 times more likely to die.
Wow.
Right now, the CDC director said on Friday that over 90% of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 are unvaccinated people. 90% of the hospitalized patients. Now,
Crazy.
I mean, if you don't think you should get vaccinated by hearing those numbers,
Something's wrong.
Then you have a death wish.
I mean, there was an uptick in vaccinations after obviously the COVID in the community, but don't wait till it's too late.
Right.
You have to get both of the shots, and then it still needs time to
It does make you think, and as we're talking about wearing masks and such, it does make you think, as you said, Sandy, if your family member didn't have some underlying conditions, we probably wouldn't know that she was positive, and she would be out in the community with the Delta variant. And so you have to imagine that it is out there.
Absolutely.
Right
now. And I've always maintained this position. I mean, in my mind, it would be impossible for it to not be out there. I think what we don't have is wide community spread that is becoming obvious, which means that people are not landing in the hospital and that sort of thing. And that's the aim of vaccination, saying to keep you out of the hospital, to keep you from getting seriously ill.
You still can get sick. It still can happen. But I mean, let's try to prevent the death and the use of hospital beds for people that need it.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, a lot to chat about this morning.
Fun time.
So we got a lot. Yeah, we're going to talk about COVID, obviously. I've got lots of stuff to talk about the breaches. We're actually going to talk about something that's quite interesting. A lot of people have been trolling this particular government over things like how they're hosting the press briefings and some mispronunciation of words and that sort of thing. So we're going to put all that in context and talk about those things as well, because that's part of, that's part of the community, folks.
Well, I mean, there was plenty enough said on the last one when they would do press conferences. You always put yourself out there for feedback from the public.
Absolutely. And you better have thick skin when you get involved in politics, or you even do what I do, because trust me, people coming for you.
Or on the radio or on CMR.
Yeah. You guys are a little bit different, though. You got it easy. People, we play nice music. I was told to throw out this trivia question for you guys today. I don't know if it's trivia, if you do trivia today, but someone said, drop this fact on Blake. What video game was released today 36 years ago and has been like a top seller ever since?
What video game? I'm going to say Miss Pac-Man.
Nope.
I'm going to say
it's 30 years ago.
I'm going to say
36 years.
36. I guess
Mario Brothers.
No, it wouldn't have been Miss Pac-Man. That's a lot older.
It's got it. Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers. Is that it? Yeah, nice.
Oh, there we go.
Thought
Aaron.
Ago, and it's a top.
Blake would be the one that would
trivia.
Yeah.
And it's a top seller.
I love.
That's why if you have an original in its case unopened, it's probably worth $1 million.
Yeah, not unopened. I used to play, the first Nintendo that I had. It was the Duck Hunt and the Super Mario Brothers split game. Yeah, I played that a lot. I could never play those again. They go too slow.
Sandy, enjoy your Monday.
Thank you,
See you
guys.
tomorrow.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Catch Seymour now.
Bye. All right, good people. We are here. Thank you for keeping it locked. 192 folks. Only 5 on YouTube because we're using our backup YouTube feed. Child, I'm gonna send out. I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send out a quick link on from the website because that'll automatically reach. Oh gosh, how many people do we reach now when we send out? People actually sign up for notifications on the website, and it actually sends it out to, I think it's over 16,000 right now. Automatically, they get notification like on their computers and stuff saying, hey, whatever the latest story is. The interesting thing about it is YouTube is really picky about YouTube is really picky about the things that they will put you in YouTube jail for, to the point that it's like verging on ridiculous, actually. Not a word of lie. So yeah, it's like super weird. Backup YouTube feed. So I'm gonna send this out now because a lot of people still don't know where to find us on YouTube. And I find that some people just prefer the YouTube link. Obviously, YouTube is a little bit easier to find on certain platforms. Like if you're using like a smart TV and that sort of thing, YouTube is super easy. So it's easier in the eyes to be able to pull up a YouTube feed that way. So not a problem. I'm going to just send this out to everyone. And then hopefully they can find us on that. It's a backup option that we use, a backup CMR YouTube link or page, I should say. Not really a page, but channel is what they call it on YouTube. So yes. So we have it there because people are always getting a little bit confused with, like I said, YouTube is just super quirky. But anyway, we got you covered. We got you covered. Solutions, that's life for you, folks. Sometimes you got to come up with solutions. So where shall we begin today? First of all, thank you guys so much for joining us. So go like the backup page because basically, you'll get multiple notifications. If one page is having an issue, hopefully the other page is okay. That's why I don't do a whole lot with YouTube. You notice like I don't push to a whole lot of content even to YouTube because of that same reason. Like I know they'll block you for anything. And they're not like Facebook. I find Facebook is more reasonable. Like if Facebook questions a particular post, and you contact Facebook and you say, hold up, this is what this is. Like people are always claiming like if we play a song or whatever during the show, people always say, oh, that's our song. Warner Brothers is claiming the song. And I think it's artificial intelligence actually that does it for Warner Brothers. Like they search stuff online. And then I always appeal it. Always appeal it. Trust me, always appeal it. And then they come back and they say, oh, yes, Warner Brothers has released it. They agree with your appeal. And most of the time, I just appeal it under fair use. Like I'm using a couple of seconds of your music clip. Yes, that is correct. But I'm not trying to profit off of playing some of the songs that we will drop on the show. So, yep, that's what it is. That's what it is. So give me 1 second to send this out. And then we will get this train rolling down the tracks. So how was your weekend, good folks? I trust that you guys had a good weekend. I was just glad to be out of the hospital. I got to be honest with you. Out of the hospital and not having to live stream from a hospital room. That was kind of crazy on Friday. But we managed to still pull off a full show. And I must tell you that it's like this. I must tell you that a lot of people were messaging me saying, hey, Sandy, thank you for still doing the show. We enjoyed it. You don't have the aesthetics of like a nice camera and whatever. in the background, but you guys are here for the conversation. You're not here to look at me and tell me I'm pretty or whatever. You know what I mean? So the aesthetics is not as important, basically. So yeah, people were tuned in. I thought Friday's show was very good. Thank you to Kevin Watler. Big shout out to Kevin Kimanian, living abroad. He's in Lakeland, Florida. And he brings a really nice element to our programming. Yeah, he's always very much involved. So Miss Irvelin, good morning. Miss Morna's got it locked here. Coffee. Speaking of which, I've got new mugs. It's not a huge batch, but I do have mugs. Big shout out to the guys over at is it Cell? I took them some mugs on Friday after I got out of the hospital because I've been promising them mugs for a minute. So finally got them some mugs, and they were so happy. They were like, "Oh my gosh!" I'll show you guys some pictures in a second. They were like, "Oh my gosh, Miss Sandy, this is so awesome! Thank you. You are most welcome." So link me up if you didn't get any last time. I do have this running waiting list for mugs, and then we got to decide on what the next merchandise purchase will be. So I will definitely. So that email just went out to 16,625 people. That's not an email. That is people who've signed up to receive notifications every single time we posted something on the website. A couple weeks ago, I had this one lady. We were going back and forth on emails. And let me just make one quick adjustment to something in my background. I noticed my little flags are not showing on the computer monitor. Just give me 1 second here, folks. I like to see these. There we go. There we go, folks. Love to see my flags being represented. There. Now you can see the outline of the flags. So, yeah, this woman was emailing me really random, and she's like, "Will you stop sending me these?" Well, she was confused about what it was. She was saying that we were sending her emails, and I'm thinking, we do have an email list, but a lot of times, to be honest, I'm so busy that I'm not as consistent with the email list as I should be. And I totally have to admit to that. And so I said to her, like, I need to understand specifically what it is so that I can guide you accordingly, right? So if you say it's an email list, I can tell you, because she's like, I get them daily. And I'm like, we don't send that out daily. That might be once a week in case you missed a story or whatever, but we definitely don't send that out daily. And she kind of kept going back and forth. And finally, I figured out that she was, someone said my camera is blurry. That's probably just internet, child. Bad internet. It ain't the camera. Trust me, I can see the camera feed, what I'm looking at, and it looks really good. Bad internet, honey child. Not much I can do about that some days. Let me check the internet speeds and see what's going on. If there's anything running in the background. Like, I try to preserve my internet speed, especially during the show, because yeah, it makes everything look fuzzy. So hold on. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. And that looks really clear. So that's the camera. So if you're seeing it fuzzy, let me just do a speed test and see. So yeah, so anyway, so she kept going back and forth, and I'm trying to be really nice and professional, but it's obvious that this poor lady doesn't have a clue about technology. So I'm thinking to myself, okay. When somebody keeps messaging you, at some point they get a little bit annoying when they don't really know what they're talking about. So, yeah, internet speeds are actually good. Upload is 30 megs almost. Yep, pushing 30. Let me do this. Let me just refresh my window, because sometimes that helps. So give me 1 second. I'm going to refresh. I think if I refresh, I lose a couple things, but hold on 1 second. Let me try refreshing, because that might help. Okay, is that any better? It'll probably take a second, and you might have to refresh what you're looking at as well. I'm not sure if that's going to be any better, but that's the most that I can do right now. So Vernita, check your messages. I will send you the YouTube feed. I did mention this morning that we're using a backup YouTube option. So let me see if I can find you on this WhatsApp. I think I have an old number saved for you, Vernita, so I'm not sure. Message me on WhatsApp and I'll forward you. Okay, so this person says much better. Okay, so I just refreshed the page. Thank you for letting me know. Because yeah, definitely if I don't know, I don't know. Good morning, Miss Brenda. Siobhan is here. Elizabeth is here. Karen, because you see the screen that I'm looking at. Let me show you guys again what that looks like. That screen looks nice and beautiful to me, right? Look at this. That's what I'm looking at. And that looks good. So thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. Right. So this lady kept messaging me and I was like asking her different questions. I can see that she's annoyed. I'm just like, Sandy, keep you cool, because the woman clearly don't know what she's got going on here. So eventually she comes back and says to me that you know, she gets it every day and she just got one. I thought, I said, allow me to explain to you, madam, what is happening. You're getting notifications from the website, which pop up as a little notification on your computer. Because she's like, oh, I'm a busy, I think she said she's a doctor or something. I don't even know. She's like, I'm a busy doctor and I don't have time for this. And I said, well, let me explain to you what happened. Is someone at your office using your computer has actually gone to the CMR website and they have subscribed to get these notifications. So you, my friend, need to know a thing or two about notifications on whatever browser you're using. So if you're using Chrome or Firefox or whatever, and merely click on that option and say, I no longer want these notifications. It's pretty simple to do if you know what you're doing. So I was kind enough to send her some useful links, and then I didn't hear back from her, and I figured, problem solved. You're welcome, lady. You never said thanks, but you're welcome. She's trying to email or message us or claim that we were somehow sending her these unsolicited emails, which was not the case at all. So why do people call during the show? I mean, do people not know that this time of day is not the time to call me because I'm on the show? Okay. Anyway, so it is what it is. Ravina says, leave one for me, please. Good morning, Miss Beulah. Miss Beulah, did you ever get your mug? I know you were on the list. Good morning, Lorna. So good to see you. Scott is here. So nice to see you, Scott. Morning, Jackie. Yes, Brenda, I think that's a really good idea, actually. I was thinking about masks. Trying to find the right type of material, though, because I have some that are like almost like a spandexy material. They're not straight. It's cloth, but it has a little bit of spandex in it. But I think that they would be probably really expensive to get that material. So I need to look at, I need to try to see how that works. AJ says no need to mandate a vaccine. The vaccine isn't helping the way we think. Actually, it is, AJ. Stay tuned, because I'm hoping you can get yourself an education this morning. Good morning, Miss Anne. Good morning, Buenos Dias, Alba. No, AJ, you're completely wrong about vaccines. I don't know how you guys are simply not paying attention, but you know what? I know some of you get a little bit tired of me talking about it, but this is precisely why I keep saying it, because repetition is what's required for someone to actually get and understand something. You say something once, they don't get it. You say it twice, they still out there with misinformation. 20 times later, people are like, oh, I'm going to show you guys how I can prove that point based on some conversations that I've had. Miss Beulah, you getting that today, my girlfriend. I will find you. Message me on WhatsApp, but I will find you. All right. So listen, yeah, people are woefully confused. They're taking in too much crap in their brains, I think, is part of what's happening. So over the weekend, this Christian coalition or whatever they call themselves, I don't even know what it is. Let me tell you what the proper name is. They had a meeting over the weekend. So we're going to talk about the stabbing, the shooting, and everything else in a second. But since we're already on this train of thought, it's Katina's group, and it's called, let me tell you what she calls it. It's called Christian Association. I think it's changed names a couple times, because I swear it was called something else at one point, but she does a lot of different things. She's anti-gay, she's anti-vaccine. She's kind of all over the place with this. People giving her donations, claiming that she's going to help feed hungry people, and then I don't see the hungry people getting fed. But she's out there pushing her own agenda and her own message. Supposed to be an NPO. People, be careful what NPOs you donate to, because there are people who just taking your money. So they had this vaccination presentation over the weekend, and here's what I have been able to ascertain actually went down. So give me one quick second here. I am going to pull up some other videos that we're going to be discussing, including the France Manderson video. We want to talk about that as we move in to talk about breaches and stuff as well. So here's her Christian coalition or Christian association or whatever the heck they're calling it. This is it. They had this vaccine choice town hall meeting. Well, this isn't about vaccine choice. This is about an anti-vaccination message. Legal and religious rights, employment law, frank and open discussion, it says. vaccinechoicecommand.org. She already got a little website set up. And this was on Saturday. Now, I didn't listen to it. Apparently, they had it at the town hall, and they also had a Zoom meeting. I didn't listen to it, and I'll tell you the reasons why. I did have someone else listen to it for the purposes of news coverage, but I find that my brain is only so big, and I can only take so much information into my brain. And honestly, at some point, the more ridiculous things you allow into your brain, I feel like there has to be some brain fog that is legit going on in there somewhere, right? So forgive me if this comes across the wrong way. I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm just trying to be honest. And we bring it to you cold and hard. Even sometimes at the sake of coming across a little bit rude. I don't know how else to tell you the truth sometimes, except just tell you the truth. So I'm not interested in their anti-vaccination message. I think it's a dangerous message. I don't care if they want us to believe that it's based on religious grounds or not. I think that is hogwash. The good Lord above has given humans some degree of common sense. Although Voltaire said all those years ago, common sense isn't that common. Apparently he said that quote. I never knew that. And on top of that, quite frankly, it's a very dangerous message that they're toying around with. And their message is all over the place. It doesn't make any logical sense. It doesn't make any scientific sense. And I think that God gave us medicine and medical advances for us to be able to use it. I mean, imagine, folks, if my daughter was not vaccinated against rubella, right? And I had to deal with her being hospitalized this couple days ago. And she was in there. It was a miserable experience. But the doctor said, because she is vaccinated, this isn't something that's going to kill her. This is something that, she'll be okay. The most important thing is just trying to keep her hydrated properly. And that's what's significant right now. I believe in vaccines. I'm a product of vaccines. I'm alive today because of, let me show you the long list of vaccines, by the way, that we have all had. Look at this. Vaccines that have changed your life. Smallpox, rabies, tetanus, typhoid fever, tuberculosis, diphtheria, whooping cough, yellow fever, flu, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox. Wow. And the list goes on. There are even vaccines being developed right now for cancer. So over the weekend, someone was messaging me about the vaccines, and they said, "Oh, why is it that these vaccines are only the mRNA technology is only on the radar?" Let me kind of break it down a little bit to you guys, because I find that this is an essential conversation that we need to have. So first of all, not all vaccines are built on the mRNA technology. Okay. Pfizer and Moderna are built on that technology. The other ones actually use very different technology. And that is some of the differences between them. Now, people have conversations in a vacuum, I suppose, about the mRNA vaccines, which the way that people talk about it, I get the sense that people are of the opinion that it is one and the same. So in other words, they lump all vaccines together and they talk about, oh, this mRNA technology, blah, blah, blah. That only applies to Pfizer and Moderna. And you have a vaccine choice. I keep hearing people say, well, I don't have a choice. Actually, you do have a choice. The choice will be up to you to bring it in, though. I mean, you can't expect the government to give you every single thing in this life, right? If you want, it's like you go to prison. We only have certain kind of prison food available to you, madam. And it is what it is. If you want other options, then, well, I don't think you can get other options in prison. But, if you want other options in life, sometimes you have to source those other options on your own. And that, quite frankly, I'm not so sure that is an unexpected position. Like, I don't know what people would think, I guess you don't get to have your cake and eat it too, is what I'm trying to tell you. So when I have one-on-one conversations with people, I do my best to be as what's the word that I'm looking for? Patient as I possibly can, because, at some point I'm just like, y'all just don't want to listen to good logic. And I think that my patience paid off, at least in one instance this weekend. And it got someone to rethink what they were saying about mRNA. So let me show you a portion of the conversation so that you can get an idea of why I say, it's like when you have a child, you appreciate how many times you have to say something in order for it to really sink in. And this is one of the reasons why even the good book tells you the guidance of the sheep, it's a daily situation. It's not you just wake up one day and your sheep are going to properly behave. And no, it's a constant message of here's the truth. Because out there's so many messages and so many people with misinformation, whether it's Katina, Dr. Frank, Mario, all these people out there with all of this misinformation that they're throwing into the ring, and it confuses and muddles the water. And it's unfortunate because I said to someone last night, two things have happened that made this pandemic very different than any other pandemic. First of all, we live in an anti-vaccination world. Yes, it didn't just start happening. It has been happening for quite some time, a number of years. This anti-vaccination message has been growing with an uncontrollable, what's the word that I'm looking for? An uncontrollable fever. Is that the word I'm looking for? You guys know what I'm going to talk about mispronouncing words here in a second. That's not the word, but an uncontrollable, like lull, like a low, what's the word that I'm looking for, guys? Help me out here. It's like a low drumming sound. What is that word called? Well, whatever. Right. So that has been going on for a long time. On top of that, and that's why certain countries like Australia and others are struggling with whooping cough and other diseases, measles, there's been a re-emergence of these diseases in the Western world when there really shouldn't be, because of this anti-vaccination message that for the past 15, 20 years has been growing, you know? Mistrust, oh, big pharma and this and that. And these are the same people. I hear people talking about big pharma and I look at them, they're like me, overweight, unhealthy, except they're already on metformin and all these other things. And I'm thinking, but you're still relying on big pharma to keep you alive. So I'm not getting your point, really. I'm like, huh? Big pharma is the big bad. Okay, but you still there with your metformin, and you get a headache. You're still jumping in a tablet. I'm sure big pharma makes more money off of tablets and painkillers than anything else. It's so illogical, right? So I didn't listen to the session of the weekend. I purposely did not listen to it. And I heard that it was a cluster fill in the blank. Am I surprised? No. These people are amateurs. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They couldn't put together a professional forum if their life depended on it. And that in and of itself should say volumes to you, right? They had a Zoom connection going. I heard that people were jumping in and out. They clearly don't know how to use Zoom. People, even speakers, were dropping the phone. The dogs were picking up the phone. The dogs almost had a session. Like, I just heard it was a hot mess. Beyond that, their message is also a hot mess of a message. Now, Dr. T, bless his little heart, I'm a little bit confused by Dr. T. Because on the one hand, he says that he's not an anti-vaxxer. And in fact, he says he's a supporter of this government and what they're trying to do. And I say, right, okay. But yet, you sit down and have a you become part of a platform. This is where I'm confused. That is woefully anti-vaxxer. Jesus, make it make sense. Because this don't make no damn sense to me. So if you are not an anti-vaxxer, right? Why would you engage with people who are? You have an audience, Dr. T, with all due respect, that you could put on your own forum and talk about vaccine, different types of vaccines. You could educate people. Yeah, you could do that. Instead, you join with people who have lost a lot of credibility in this community because of the things that they're saying. Need I remind you, I know a lot of you guys like Mario, and I mean, you know, he has a lot of interesting things to say. No shade. I'm just going to tell you what I think. And, but when he gets up and says things like, nobody ever talks about hunger in the world. And you're like, what? Are you serious, dude? You want to talk about hunger? Like, you want to talk about the truth when it comes to hunger? Well, here's the cold hard facts, folks. Hunger in the world is getting worse because of COVID-19. It's pushing people into poverty. So go back, and there's a headline from April of 2021, talks about the United Nations World Food Program. He says nobody talks about hunger, but there's a United Nations World Food Program. There's all these organizations in the world trying to eradicate hunger, but yet nobody's talking about it. Everybody only wants to talk about COVID is his logic. Anyway, check it out. The United Nations World Food Program has said that there's 270 people around the world at risk of starvation. because of this pandemic, right? That number has doubled. So 270 million people, right, is a doubling of the figure because of COVID. COVID is making it far harder on countries, far worse. So we're talking about an increase in hunger and poverty across the world. There are international institutions, including the United Nations and the World Bank, who are extremely concerned about this. So you have the COVID crisis. This is what it says here, has greatly exacerbated. That's one of the words that I don't know how to pronounce. Exacerbated. You got to break that one down. Exacerbated. Yes, I think that's it. The situation, that one's always a tongue twister for me. For those already suffering from poverty, armed conflict, and climate crises. By the end of the year, the pandemic will cause 111 to 149 million people worldwide to fall into extreme poverty. So, y'all then came out talking about your CUC bill. Thank God you got a CUC bill. Talking about your mortgage and your interest rates on your cars and your this and your that. Somebody sent me a thing yesterday. Why is my insurance company charging me a $12 government fee? I get it. We have to spend a lot of money just to live in this country. And despite what you think, you do not live in extreme poverty. I myself have only had glimpses of it when I travel to a country like Cuba and I go out in the country. I see pockets of what I consider extreme poverty. And even then, a lot of those people still getting at least one meal a day. There are countries in the world where you're not getting no meal a day. You're eating dirt pies and all sorts of stuff. So perspective can be a hell of a thing. But it makes me very uncomfortable when people use this narrative, right? World hunger. Oh, we've never heard of the word asymptomatic before. If someone has to rely on such a ridiculous number of statements to try to prove their anti-vaccination point, I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. So Tom says he did listen to the Zoom session and he found it informative. The doctors came up with what appeared to be facts, and basically the suggestion was that we need options. Well, I'm not going to listen to the presentation, Tom, because we have options. Like that's nothing that in my mind even needs to be debated. The options are there. You just need to go out and get it. Dr. T said he's going to bring in the Chinese vaccine. By the way, stick a pin. Y'all love to be hating on China. China caused this virus. China does this. China does that. But then you want to jump on. The messages to me are so illogical and confusing. But you're going to trust the Chinese, the same ones you blame for the emergence of the virus, and you said Chinese lying about everything else. But when it comes to vaccine, I'm going to put my trust and my health in the hands of China. It is beyond ironic. Now, I'm not trying to knock the Chinese vaccine, although it's not as effective. And I think one of the presenters admitted that. But isn't that weird that all of a sudden, for the purposes of a vaccine, you would rather trust China? That doesn't make any sense. It's interesting, but it's illogical. You muddle the waters when you have a presenter standing up there talking about COVID-19 is the mark of the beast. Now, I know y'all love to take the Bible very literally, and that's your choice to do so. But there have been so many things that have happened in the history of mankind that you could have said was the mark of the beast, and everybody says that. Just like in 2000, the entire earth was doomed. And now here we are, 2021, 21 years later, and y'all are still here complaining about everything under the sun. Desi joining us from Jamaica. Thank you so much. Dominique says he's tired of talking about vaccines. Well, Dominique, it's a little bit about life and death. You know, it's easy to dismiss it if you haven't yet had coronavirus. Now we have community transmission. I want to talk about this. It scared a few of you. And this is what I've always suspected, because guess what? The numbers shot up. Friday, you needed to see the number of people. Was it Friday or Thursday? I think it was Thursday. That were in West Bay at the West Bay Clinic. I'm waiting on the numbers to come in for Northside. Ooh, y'all scared now. Fear is a factor. The fear factor is important. And I've always said, open the damn borders, because you know what? When a few people start to get sick around here, y'all gonna take this seriously. Talk about the mark of the beast then. I bet your ass be running to the doctor to try and get a shot against the mark of the beast. You know? The people dabble in the ridiculous. I want y'all to think about this. 2 points I want to make here. The fact that one of the reasons I keep talking about this, Dominique, is because I say it and it doesn't sink in. So I have to say it again, and I have to say it again, and continue to hope that at some point it's actually going to sink in. Look at this. This person says to me, they had messaged me on Instagram talking about mRNA, and I say, mRNA technology has been around for 50 years. That's me in the purple. Much more than the others. So y'all want to talk about, oh, give us choice. We want the Chinese vaccination. We want, what are the other two called that are not, hold on, let me tell you. Oh God, I always forget their names. So you've got the Pfizer, you've got Moderna, you've got Johnson & Johnson, Oxford, AstraZeneca, that's not available in the US, and the Novavax. And then you have the Chinese one called, oh Lord, whatever the hell it's called. I'll tell you the name in a second, begins with an S, right? So Johnson & Johnson vaccine, unlike Pfizer and Moderna, this is a carrier or virus vector vaccine. So it's not based on the mRNA technology. Stick a pin. I want y'all to listen to me very, very carefully. Everyone is out there talking about, ooh, blood clots, and you're going to get blood clots from the vaccine. Here's the thing. You know which vaccines are actually linked to the blood clots? It's not the Pfizer and the Moderna. It's the other two. But you see how you muddle the waters about, oh, they're giving us blood clots? Well, the one that the government has made available in this jurisdiction through them, which is the Pfizer one, isn't the one that's associated with the blood clots. Isn't that a bit of interesting misinformation that is constantly being thrown out there? Look it up for yourselves. Yes, there's a small chance with the Johnson & Johnson and what's the other one called? AstraZeneca, of blood clots. Still relatively small compared to what's going to happen to you if you catch COVID, because COVID will give you blood clots. COVID is more likely to make you sterile as a man. Y'all talking about apparently you want more children and all these other things. Facts are really important. I mean, it really is. So I listen to people and I listen to the nonsense, and I'm sorry, but my brain can only entertain so much cluster. You know what? It just can't take no more. Okay? So mRNA technology has been around for 50 years. Then the person says to me, well, based on my research, I haven't found that. Where can I find it? Really, son? What kind of research you've been doing? Because this is nothing new. I've said it a gazillion times. Other people have said it a gazillion times. Somebody's saying no live feed. That should be the link. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? All right. You haven't heard it. Say it 50 times, and maybe by time number 35, they'll finally. So I said, all right. I said, hold on. Then they say, oh, never mind. I found it on Wikipedia, the site that no one trusts. But son, you just claim that you couldn't find it. If it's on Wikipedia, what that means to me is that it is widely available. So if it's widely available, right? But even Wikipedia has it up. How can you claim on the one hand that based on my research, I haven't found it? Please, what kind of research have you been doing? I mean, really and truly, pick sense from nonsense, people. This don't make no sense. So based on my research, I haven't seen it. Then he did a quick Google and it's right there in Wikipedia. That means it's not hitting that deep. It really can't be if it's on Wikipedia. And I don't rely on Wikipedia because I know how Wikipedia works. Here we go. The conversation continues. So, yes, it has been used as a cancer vaccine since 2011, by the way. Did y'all know that? The same mRNA technology that now all of a sudden is a problem because it's part of the coronavirus options for vaccines is problematic. Honey child, 2011, what year are we in now? 2021? How many years that is? Hold on here now. Y'all know I got to pull out my little calculator. 2011, 2020. Oh, Lord have mercy. Hold on. Where are my mathematicians in the house? 2011, 2021, 10 years. It has been used in another vaccine. But y'all ain't talking about that. Because you see, those are the inconvenient elements of the truth that people don't want to talk about. So then, here's the irony of it. They say, oh, yeah, I see that. Yeah, So if that much work went into it, why did they wait so long to FDA approve it? And I never heard anyone mention this until today. So confusing, but okay, that has brought a very different perception on this vax. So I thank you for that. Well, I'm glad that this person is at least willing to be open to the possibilities that they hadn't read everything and they don't know everything because none of us do. Now, listen to the irony of what they actually said. Why has it taken so long then if mRNA technology has been around for 50 years for the FDA to approve it? Slap me bald-headed, please, somebody. You guys are the same ones who are claiming that this was rushed, that the FDA didn't go through all the hoops. Now that you have some accurate information about mRNA technology, you're now asking the question, well, why did it take so long? Are you kidding me? And my response was, it takes so long because the same protocols that have to be followed for any vaccine or medicine to come to market, including the different phases, right, of trials, still has to be done. So the foundation was there, the technology was there, mRNA was there, it's already in another vaccine. So it was easier for them to deploy it in this new COVID vaccine. There were governments around the world who were paying billions of dollars to try to get someone to get it going. Remember what Trump was doing? He was going to Europe, trying to steal European scientists away so that the Americans could be the first to get to vaccine deployment so that his people wouldn't die and maybe he could have gotten reelected. So you can't flip your argument and be like, well, why did it take him so long? No. They got emergency use and now full approval using the exact same protocols as any other medication or vaccine. Was it somewhat expedited? Yeah. But stage 3 of this vaccine, of the Pfizer one in particular, had 40,000 participants. And they're double blind, which is the gold standard, the platinum standard, whatever metal's at the top of the chart there, of trials. You don't know whether you got the vaccine or you didn't get it. Since then, billions of people have received the vaccines, folks. Over 5 billion people at the last count. So let's talk a little bit about vaccines in general. And then I want to talk about what's happening in Cayman with these breaches, because I'm sick of y'all breaching quarantine, and we're going to talk about that. And then we'll talk about the stabbings and other incidents over the weekend. Watch this video. I got 3 videos, actually. I want you to watch the first one about the history of vaccines. So I saw my little friend, Renwick Christian, mention that he's never taken any of those vaccines that we listed earlier. And I'm like, how could you have ever gone to government school in Cayman? Maybe he doesn't remember taking them, because back in the day, this wasn't up for debate. There was no internet. All of you were not medical doctors, right? They came knocking on your door and put a vaccine shot. As a matter of fact, do I have that? I feel like I have that mark. Remember, there's one vaccine that gave you, I don't know why it marked you, but there's one mark, talking about mark of the beast. There's one vaccine that actually left a imprint, like almost like a tattoo of the mark on your, I feel like I have it somewhere, but I need to look for it. Most of us have that. So, Jasara, I'm not saying anything about Dr. T's qualifications. There are a lot of people who trust Dr. T and his years of practice in medicine. That's fantastic. What I'm saying is he gets on a platform and says he's not an anti-vaxxer. Go and watch the video that we posted on our page about that. This guy makes an interesting point. Anytime someone says that they're not an anti-vaxxer, he's like, listen very carefully to the rest of the message, right? So he says he's not an anti-vaxxer, but yet he's on a platform with anti-vaxxers talking about the mark of the beast. That's where I think his credibility, if I had to be honest with him, has been woefully undermined. He's also a general physician and surgeon. He's not a virologist. He's not a vaccine expert. Vaccines and viruses are a very specific area of study, and there are people who are experts in that area. So just because you're a general physician doesn't mean necessarily that you know any more or less than anybody else if that isn't your area of specialty. I'm just saying. These are the facts. Good morning to the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, Minister. Patricia says, yes, vaccines were given at school. I don't even know when I got vaccinated. All I know is I got them. As a matter of fact, I do know that when I was traveling to the US back in the early 80s, one of the requirements for me to get into schools there and to live there is that we need to see that vaccination card. Listen to this all-important message, folks. When you think you know everything about vaccines, and the messages that I was just sharing you, right? So the impression that this person has, and somebody else sent me this message as well, is that yeah, someone just sent that on Friday, 401 first-time jabs were received in the Cayman Islands. And if you don't think that that's related to the community spread cases, think again, because it is. So somebody else sends me this message saying, let me see if I can find this one. Like, oh yes, here it is. It says, Miss Sandra, I have a question based on your last post. Let me just share the screenshot with you guys. And this is a very interesting question, I thought, right? Based on your last post, not bashing in any way. But we have been getting vaccinated for years for different outbreaks. But traditional vaccines were made completely different from the current COVID-19 vaccine. Have you thought about sharing or educating on these facts and the difference? So this question alone is a little bit confusing. So I said to the person, what do you mean by traditional vaccines? So in your mind, what makes, and I don't know specifically which, she didn't specify, but let's, for the sake of argument, let's say it's the Pfizer vaccine. What makes the Pfizer vaccine untraditional? In what way? So I don't know what that means. And I certainly don't know how it's any different. So that you see my response here. And I said, how are they made differently? Because now that question makes me believe that you would know something about the other vaccines and how they're made. So what do you know about them? How are they made differently? You see, these are the questions. When people put questions to me, I go back with questions because I need to understand what your question actually is saying. And of course, there's no response to that because this person doesn't know. That is just something that's floating around out there that, oh, this vaccine's different. Okay. Well, I've just told you it's based on the mRNA technology, which has been around for 50 years, started 50 years ago. And we already have a cancer vaccine that is being in use for 10 years now, thanks to my mathematicians, for cancer based on the mRNA technology. So traditional vaccines, how long do you need it to be in use before you go, okay, well, now it's a traditional vaccine? I don't even know what that means. So I said, again, this is one of the things out there that just isn't accurate. And when you're dealing with inaccurate information, it can be a dangerous thing. Listen to this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in 1980, the WHO, the World Health Organization, officially declared that the smallpox was eradicated. It is the first virus, human virus, in the history of the world to ever have been eradicated solely through the use of vaccines. Now, the first vaccine for smallpox appeared in the at the end of the 1700s. The first time it was used in the United States of America was 1809. Now, the FDA wouldn't come into existence until 1906. So for 100 years, America used a vaccine, or the world used a vaccine that the FDA, which didn't exist yet, hadn't approved. In 1954, Jonas Salk came up with the polio vaccine. And in 1955, they started administering that vaccine to children. Now, it's interesting, dovetailing back into the smallpox vaccine. It took 184 years to eradicate, and for the first and only time in human history, it was eradicated. A human virus was eradicated through the use of vaccine. It took 184 years. As a matter of fact, they stopped giving that vaccine in 1971 or 72. It took 184 years to eradicate that virus that killed over 300 million people, and it existed for over 300 years. It was the scourge of the world. 300 million people, and now it does not exist solely through the use of vaccines. In 1954, Jonas Salk comes up with the polio vaccine, and it was very controversial. Very controversial. Matter of fact, Elvis Presley and the like had to get on and to try to convince people that it was necessary. By the time we got to 1979, polio in the United States of America stopped. We didn't have any more incidences of polio in America as of 1979. It hasn't. As a matter of fact, polio only exists in two countries right now. One is Afghanistan, one is Pakistan. And this year, they're going to send teams out to try to be the second virus that is eradicated. Now, they all met, like the polio virus in particular, was met with the same reticence, the same upheaval, the same outcry, the same people worrying about what happened. But yet that vaccine that I took when I was a baby, My grandchild just took a variation. It kills the IPV virus, and it is so effective that they still use it today. And it is used in combination with other viruses. You can't be a baby right now in America getting shots without having a component of that vaccine. It does not exist. Matter of fact, right now you don't see measles or rubella or mumps. The only time you see them is when people stop taking the vaccine because of whatever in the asinine thing they done heard on Facebook or Instagram or social media. They stop taking it, and then the vaccine, the measles spring up. We have an outbreak. They quarantine the area and find out where it came from. We have always been protected by vaccines. At the same time, around the same time, they were giving polio vaccines. Yes, they were doing the Tuskegee experiment. Those dualities exist and always have in America. I cannot explain that to you. I can tell you this. The people who are telling you that these vaccines don't work and it's bad and you don't know are protected by those vaccines. Right now, that we don't have a world full of polio and we don't have a world full of smallpox because those vaccines were effective and they work and took decades, sometimes centuries to start working. Right now, the very people telling you how detrimental those things are protected by the very vaccines. Matter of fact, when some of these rednecks want to go over and hunt big game in Africa, guess what they got to take? A bunch of vaccines. If we had the same kind of font of misinformation, the same kinds of doubts, the same kind of whether it's the Fox News or Tucker Carlson or your cousin being able to get on the internet and quote some inane, bullshit study that gets people killed. Imagine a world where we had the same reticence and the same things we do. We'd have a world full of crippled people full of smallpox. I am not telling you that not to do your research. I'm not telling you not to know. But when people say dumbass things like the FDA hasn't approved it, it has for emergency use. And you know why? Because we had an emergency. An emergency right now when people were dying right now. 4 million, over 4 million and counting are dead as we speak. The FDA didn't even approve the smallpox vaccine. It didn't exist in 1906. They started using it in 1809. And it is the first virus ever to be eradicated in human history by a vaccine. You don't have to take this vaccine. You don't have to do anything. But I think that it's wrong, one, to spread misinformation, and two, to go out amongst people knowing you're unvaccinated. If you want to do what you want to do, stay home. Stop telling me it's your right. It's your right to smoke. You can't do it in public because it harms other people. You can text, but you can't text and drive because it harms other people. You don't get to do nothing. You don't get to say, I'm not going to take the vaccine, and I'm going to go out amongst people and potentially damage them. You don't get to do that. That is irresponsible, inhumane, selfish, and cruel. And you quote these particles of facts and put them in and cause further confusion. If you don't want to do anything, the same people telling you, well, don't take the vaccine, are the same people telling you not to wear masks, telling you you have to social distance, telling the government they didn't have to shut things down. 2 vaccines, both very controversial. Right now, one eradicated the world from polio, from smallpox that had killed 300 million people and does not exist anymore. And 2, the polio vaccine, also very controversial, which is on the verge of eliminating the second human virus. If we had the world of people that we have right now spreading misinformation and lies and half-truths, we would all be crippled. Katherine Jackson right now walks with a limp because of polio. Scores of people, millions of people died because hundreds of million people died because of smallpox, and they don't exist anymore. Imagine a world where all these Fox News people, all these Tucker Carlson, and your dumbass cousin with his herb book were having a voice. We would all be a world full of smallpox, infected, polio, crippled people. You don't have to do anything, but you don't get to keep spreading misinformation and a virus because you don't want to do something. That's a little note from the GED section. We've got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. This, of course, is the D.L. Hughley Show.
Yes, Dominique, he's a comedian, but the man still speaks the truth. And he still speaks facts. The man is spitting facts. So when y'all talk about, oh, well, this vaccine is taking so long, what do you know about the history of vaccines? I'm not going to get into it today. Maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. Let's fact check and talk about the history of vaccines, since y'all vaccine experts now, right? And this one came too quickly. They were going door to door with polio and forcing people to take it. You had no choice. And if you think vaccines were any safer before the FDA even existed, y'all a bunch of fools. That's impossible. Rachel makes the following. She says, the irony of all these people saying that they want monoclonal antibody treatment instead of the vaccine is the mRNA vaccines produce natural antibodies because they're created by your own body. Monoclonal antibodies used for treatment are lab created. Hashtag now you know. I'm telling you, people have lost the plot when it comes to sensible things. Jess said this is the very reason the vaccine should be mandated. A lot of people are just really fed up with the rhetoric that, in the US, they're already mandating it all over the place. Let's talk about the breaches, because, this is another hot mess of a situation. So here in Cayman, last week, in case you missed it, we now have 3 people confirmed with community spread. In other words, there's no recent travel history. Nobody went anywhere. These are all Caymanians, by the way. And so the big question is, where has this virus come from in the North Side community? I'm waiting on the North Side numbers to come in. I want to see that a clinic in North Side this weekend. I want to see how many people in North Side realize that this is in their community. Thankfully, they've been doing extensive testing and nobody else, including several children, have showed up positive as yet. I want to put a possibility to you all that is going to sound very controversial. But I want you to think very carefully on it. What is one way in which the virus could enter this community and enter this country that has nothing to do with COVID breaches? So it's not the people in quarantine. It's not any contact with them. Think hard on it. What would be your guesses as to how the virus could enter this country otherwise? You're welcome, Jess. Let me put it to you like the only way I know how. The cold and the hard truth. Yes. Thank you. My WhatsApp people are awake this morning. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Carol. Y'all listening to what I'm about to say? Drug canoe boats, which enter this country all the time. Someone on WhatsApp said on a Jamaican canoe boat, and that's probably how it got here. Ding, 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 ding. Aha. We ain't talking about this, but we're going to talk about it this morning. We have these guys running a drug trade between Cayman and Jamaica, and Caymanians are the ones involved in it in every district. They're meeting the canoe boats out there early into the wee hours of the morning, unloading their drugs and guns. Marijuana, crack, or cocaine, whatever form it's coming in, guns, illegal ammunition, bullets, all sorts of illegal contraband. And COVID don't care if it's coming on a drug boat as well. Now, not for nothing, but, you a drug runner. Most of them can't swim. They're taking their lives into their own hands, going out in a little canoe boat. They don't care if they're COVID positive. They're not getting a negative COVID test before they jump on a drug boat. They're just jumping on the drug boat and came in. And then these guys are meeting up with them, getting the contraband, touching them, exchanging conversations and close contact. And I'm telling you that this is a likely source of reintroduction of community spread in this country. This is crazy, but y'all need to hear the logic in it. Now, you know that there's a possibility of them tracing the coronavirus, right? So apparently, I'm still reading up on this because this is pretty deep stuff. But they can trace the DNA of the virus so that they can tell that mommy got it and the son got it, and they have the same biological makeup of the virus. So those two are connected persons. And then the friend who lives in the same yard, 2 houses over, he's also positive, and he has the same strain as the mommy and the son. So basically, they're able to break down the genetic coding, if you will, that's the correct term, of COVID-19. So when they start testing other people in the community, y'all want to blame the poor Jamaican helper. The helper had nothing to do with it. When you start testing other people, number one, nobody else is showing up positive. And number two, even if you did find other positives, but they're not connected to the genetic genome of this particular outbreak, then that not got nothing to do with that. And if you can't find it in the local community, there's a reason why you can't find it. Because that person came out and done go on about their business back to Jamaica. So we were rightfully concerned on Friday when CMR broke the story about this woman coming on a plane with COVID. And people not even reading her results. Now listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I must tell you, even for me, I'm just like, how the hell do you get on a plane and no one is reading your test results properly? But then I understand that apparently this isn't as much of an anomaly or an unusual occurrence as you may think. And I say, what? What are you saying? Oh, honey child, apparently it's happening all the time. But for the most part, they're catching them, especially if they're positive. Here, the more logical explanation is this. We have people coming to Cayman who can't read. That's shouldn't be earth-shattering to nobody. Okay? I don't know what her work permit is for, but she's coming in a work permit, maybe domestic. And she don't know if the test is positive or negative. What is peculiar to me, and this shows you what a crazy situation is probably happening in Jamaica, right? If you go to a testing center in Cayman and you get a positive test result, public health is notified. You have to go into isolation. You have to go into lockdown. There's this whole protocol of red alerts that's going to take place around you. Apparently in Jamaica, that isn't happening. People are testing positive, and honey child, they're just on their merry way. It's like, are you kidding me? Yeah, that's how they're treating. No wonder they got talking about a cluster. You know what? It's a big one, a capital F in Jamaica. They have lost the plot. So yes, they're getting a positive test from a lab, and they're just, here you go, bye. They're not saying to the person, you're positive. This can kill you. You might actually want to go and see a doctor about this. You definitely can't travel with these test results. They're not telling nobody. It's like, what the heck? So I honestly think, setting aside the conspiracy theory possibility of this woman being a terrorist, because some people said, listen, this straight up is a terrorist act. Throw her ass in jail, deport her immediately. I honestly think that this woman don't have a clue what her test results said because she can't friggin' read. That's more likely the situation. Was she paying somebody under the table at Cayman Airways in Jamaica? Probably not. Slackness exists all the time. And this is the kind of slackness that's going to cost us our lives if we're not careful. But having said that, right? I also understand that there are people in Jamaica who are even confused about the type of test that they should be getting. Imagine that. So they go in and the Jamaican authorities will say, okay, we have a test for $75 and one for $150. Which one you want? Not explaining to them what the difference is. So they'd be like, well, give me the cheaper one now. I'll take the one for $75. And that isn't a PCR test. That is the antibodies test, which you cannot use to come into the country. Because that's not the real time, like right now, do you have COVID or not? And that is what has been happening. People even getting the wrong test and showing up at the airport. I'm trying to get the exact numbers from Cayman Airways of how many times this has happened. I don't know if they're writing it down, keeping a track of it, but apparently it happens with a regular degree of frequency. People are showing up with the wrong tests. So they're showing up with the antibodies test versus the PCR test, or they're showing up with a positive test result and don't even know that the test result actually reads positive. It's like, what the heck? Yeah, this is the reality. Now, that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be any consequences for her actions, or even for the person in Jamaica who missed it, because hello, you got to shape up, honey. This is a serious situation. I was watching a video over the weekend in Jamaica of it was a triple funeral. The grandmother, the grandaunt, and somebody else. 3 people being buried right next to each other because they all died of COVID. I'm like, wow. They just not taking this thing serious. Not at all. You know, it just really makes me wonder. But the real risk is the people that we don't even know anything about. We don't know how many drug canoes really coming in Cayman, how many get through, how many are stopped. Clearly more get through than not. And that's a problem. It's crazy. But this is a reality of what we are dealing with. These criminals don't care nothing about COVID. They could give 2 hoots. If they have it, if they're passing it, it don't matter. Over the weekend, there were another 7 suspected breaches between Saturday and Sunday. All I can tell you is y'all need to get it together. Like, seriously. What the majority of these are actually people who are going to a quarantine house and not following proper quarantining protocols. So they're showing up, taking stuff out of the house. You're not supposed to go and take anything out. Now, I'm going to make a recommendation to Travel Time, and I hope to God that they're listening. You need to start doing more, as long as we are still having this quarantine facility in place. You need to start doing more educational videos. Now, I don't know if this falls under Travel Time, DOT. I don't care who it falls under. Break it down for people, because I'm telling you now that people can't read. So when you send out a press release, and I'm telling you, and the facts show that people can't read, what sense does that make? That's going to reach people like me who already know what the rules are, right? Start doing some videos. Show a person walking up to the house, knocking on the quarantine door, and the person coming out and handing him money, and do a big X. This is not what you do when you're in quarantine, right? You don't allow people inside your house. You don't open the door. You have no contact with them. What does contact delivery even means? Child, I've seen people who don't have a clue, and they work for these delivery companies, and they don't know what contact delivery is. What is Rahik? Who is this person? Who is this nut on the stream this morning about I didn't know that there were other vaccines last week? Clearly, you don't listen to this program, honey, because we've been talking about other vaccines forever. In fact, we were the ones who broke the story about the Chinese one not being able to come into Cayman. So you see, when you come in here trying to take a jab at me, and once again, you don't have your facts straight, no one here is going to be taking you seriously. So come again with something a little bit better than that, because that's just stupid. Booster shots are coming, Crystal. Stand by. So I'm a little bit concerned that not enough is being done on the public educational front. Pump out some videos, government. You got GIS and all kind of fancy video equipment at your disposal. Get with it, because we need to educate people. Contact delivery, but yet you got to take out a credit card form for somebody to sign. That's not contactless. They're touching you. No, sir. Brenda says non-essential flights need to stop. We're supposed to still have a closed airport, believe it or not. I mean, isn't this crazy? But yes, that was an extra flight that came in, because you still got work permit holders coming in, new work permit approvals, people coming and still going. That's essential travel. Yes, Desia, that's the point. Let me be very, very clear, right? The woman who is positive, she's actually a family member of mine, because y'all were spreading rumors like wildfire last year that I supposedly had COVID. I had my first COVID test because my daughter had to be admitted to the hospital, and I was going to be the one who was going to be admitted with her to stay overnight with her and be there with her. She's only 5 years old. She can't stay in the hospital by herself. So we both had to be tested. Oh God, she did not like that. Lord Jehovah. She's like, she just got an IV in her hand to get some fluids. And then here comes this nurse trying to stick something up her nose. She's like, what the hell? This is like 2:00 in the morning. She's like, what? No, you can't stick something up my nose. We kind of had to hold her a little bit and be like, you just hold still. Because, it's not nice to have that done on a regular basis. And I know some of y'all have to do it for work and for other things, but no, sir. I was like, oh my God. And he's like, open your mouth. Because I guess that allows you to breathe while this thing, I mean, thank God it's only a couple seconds, but still, I was just like, that's... Someone said, how did you manage not to get a COVID test until now? Well, listen, during the lockdown, I was in lockdown. I'm not business with y'all. I was wearing my mask. I was sanitizing. I was the only person in my household that was actually leaving the household. My husband was like, I ain't going nowhere. You do the grocery shopping on your day. You do whatever. Because the fewer people that are out and about, the lesser your chances are of coming in contact with anything that then you're going to spread to the entire family. It's just a numbers game. So yes, honey child, these flights are coming and going despite us still being in lockdown. And so some people have said, stop the flights from Jamaica. Now listen, I believe Jamaica is now on the red list for a couple places. Let me just double check before I say that, because Jamaicans gonna be coming for me, honey child. I mean, like, oh, Sandy lying on Jamaica. So listen, France bans unvaccinated American travelers. A couple other countries have banned them as well. Jamaica, U.S. moves Jamaica to its highest risk unsafe list. So we had that story last week. And I believe the UK is going to be doing it as well. So I believe that the UK might be red listing Jamaica. I'll double check, but I think that that's coming next. So there are a lot of countries who are either red listing them, which means you definitely got to quarantine when you're coming back from Jamaica, or they're advising that you don't even travel to Jamaica, not at all. And the US has now done that. They put them on the highest alert. CDC says avoid travel to Jamaica. We had this up a couple days ago. They just don't have it under control. And the CDC is like, don't take your chances. So last week, Tuesday, they raised Jamaica to level 4, which signifies very high COVID levels and means travelers should avoid travel to the popular Caribbean vacation destination. They said if you must travel to Jamaica, so in other words, essential travel, they recommend you be fully vaccinated. Wow. It's crazy. European Union countries are tightening COVID restrictions for U.S. too. So the U.S. is busy blocking Jamaica, but they're behind getting blocked as well. This is what's happening the world over. UK. I think this was just updated. I need to double check the date on this. But again, they're saying that the travel to Jamaica is high risk. Travel at your own peril, but what a mess. So I think they're still on the amber list, but there's an expectation that they might be red listed soon if the current trend continues. We'll update you on that one. So a lot of people are of the opinion that we should lock down Jamaica. Well, you know, Cayman, its population is about 50% Jamaican, so that's not going to go over well. Most Caymanians, family, Jamaicans, y'all mixed up, intertwined, and whatever. But I suppose at the end of the day, we got to do what we got to do, folks. It's better than a total lockdown for everybody in this country. Quarantine remains in place. Thank you, Jess. Jonathan. Miss Brenda says Honduras and Cuba as well. Ooh, so many messages this morning. All right, let's talk about, I'm going to get away from the vaccine conversation for a bit. And yes, we will return to it tomorrow because like I said, every single day I got to give y'all little doses of it, of proper information because it takes a while to sink in. And one thing that I have realized is apparently I am a much more patient person than I ever knew. Lord, what has happened to the world? Sandy has patience. That's why I waited to have children, because in my 20s, I wasn't so patient. In my 30s, getting better, but wasn't quite there. Look at this. For those of you who say, why bother getting vaccinated because you're still going to get the virus, have a look at this bit of information here from the Princess Margaret Hospital, courtesy of the government of the Bahamas. Folks, if facts don't speak to you in like written form, let this diagram speak volumes. COVID-19 hospitalizations between August the 1st and September the 8th. 95.75, round that up to 95.8 of the hospitalizations were from unvaccinated people. 3.5% were from partially vaccinated people. Less than 1%, so only 3 cases out of the 400 hospitalizations, which is 0.75%, fully vaccinated. Wow. Explain to me, good people, how anyone with a little bit of common sense and logic can legitimately say, why get vaccinated when you still can contract COVID, potentially spread it, and get sick or be in the hospital? Are you kidding me? Do you not see in plain language and now in a picture how simple this explanation is? No, you don't have 100% protection, but damn, 90, what is that? 95 plus 3, 98% protection. Actually, this is almost 99% for hospitalization here in the Bahamas based on this graph. That ain't good enough for you? You would rather not take it and have zero protection? Y'all can't be serious. That doesn't make any sense. That argument I have heard so many times that I scratch my head, I scratch my ass, I scratch my leg, I'm scratching under my armpits because I'm trying to figure out, Jesus, make it make sense. Because y'all not making no sense when you say that. What's the point? And I keep hearing people say it over and over and over again. I'm like, what the hell? No, sir? It don't make no sense. Y'all not making sense? Now, anyone who knows me will know that from the day is long, as Miss Darlene says, the proof is in the pudding. Now, look at the deaths, folks. 99 people out of 104, that's 95.19% of the people who have died during this period were unvaccinated. 4.81%, that's 5 people, were partially vaccinated. And no fully vaccinated person has died during this period in the Bahamas. Wow. This is amazing. Hold on now, stick a pin. Yes, Carolina, it is like beating a dead horse. But you know why we have to be concerned about them? Because they don't live in a bubble. They don't live in isolation. So what they do impacts us all. That's why I'm concerned. And some of the knuckleheads are actually my family or friends that I legitimately don't want to see die. You know, it's going to break my heart if they die. It isn't a personal choice. Like the comedian said earlier, just like smoking, we know third-hand and second-hand smoke is extremely harmful for people who come in contact with it. That is why it's no longer legal for you to go in restaurants and smoke. We have rules, community rules. You must wear your seatbelt. You can't, use your phone if it's not hands-free. All of these things will potentially save your life on an individual level, but they're what's in the best interest of the community. And COVID-19 is highly communicable. In other words, it spreads very easily. Speaking of numbers, have a listen to this.
I'm so fucking tired of this argument because yes, you can still get COVID if you are fully vaccinated, but do you know the statistics to that? Do you know the odds of getting COVID if you are fully vaccinated? Because I do. I'm not a medical expert, but I'm really fucking good at numbers. So let me show you. There are 330 million people in the United States, right? Divide that by the 41 million COVID cases that we've had, and that gives you a 1 in 8 chance of catching COVID in the United States. 1 in 8 people have gotten COVID in the United States. Of those 41 million people, you've had 670,000 or so deaths. Right? That's a 1 in 61. 1 in 61 people in the United States have died from COVID. 1 in 61 people who have gotten COVID in the United States have died. Okay? Let's take this further. There are 173 million people who are fully vaccinated in the United States, right? Do you know how many breakthrough cases there have been? Since as of August 30th, there's been 12,908. That gives you a 1 in 13,402 chances of catching COVID if you are fully vaccinated. 1 in 13,402 versus 1 in 8. Let's take it a step further. There have been 2,437 deaths related to COVID or people who are COVID positive and fully vaccinated, right? 480 of those aren't related to COVID, which means that they died from a car accident or something totally unrelated to COVID. So we're going to round that to 2,000. 173 million people in the United States are fully vaccinated. Divide that by the 2,000 that have died fully vaccinated from COVID. That gives you a 1 in 86,500 chances of getting COVID and dying if you were fully vaccinated. So unvaccinated, you have a 1 in 8 chance of catching COVID. You have a 1 in 61 chance of dying from COVID. And fully vaccinated, you have a 1 in 13,402 chances of catching COVID and a 1 in 86,500 chances of dying from COVID. How about we all just realize that billions of shots have been given worldwide, billions of people have been fully vaccinated, and we have a way to end this pandemic. We have a way for children to stop losing their fucking parents. Go get the fucking shot.
My apologies, the mic was off. Sorry. Thank you for the YouTubers and everyone else who's like, we can't hear you. Back up. I was reading Desia's comment here. She says, can we speak to the fact that people who want to get vaccinated but are not eligible for the mRNA vaccines, and what the government are doing to offer alternative vaccines, available? What are the government only importing Pfizer? So let me put this to you as my view on this, right? We are receiving the vaccine from the UK at no cost to us. That's amazing, actually. So we're not in a fight like other Caribbean nations and others trying to get into the COVAX program to see if we can get a little piece of the pie. The UK has sent us an ample amount of Pfizer vaccine. Now, y'all can cuss Mother England whenever you want, and sometimes them backside need cussing, yes. But in this instance, the UK has done right by us in terms of allowing us to get ample access to really the vaccine that has the highest efficacy in terms of how it works and the least amount of risk associated. So, Desia, I have a question for you. When you say that someone who is not eligible to take the mRNA vaccine, what do you mean by the fact that they're not eligible? So what makes them ineligible to take the mRNA vaccine? I said this to you earlier, and I want it to sink in. People in Cayman are going on and on about vaccine effects, right? They're not understanding that not all vaccines are the same. So the Johnson & Johnson, I said this earlier, and I'm going to say it again, because repetition apparently makes it sink in. AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson are developed very differently. Y'all want to talk about, people dying from blood clots. Stop the blood clot foolishness. I'm going to use the word blood clots here this morning. You're talking about blood clots? No, it's blood clot foolishness. The vaccines we use are not the ones that have that higher risk. It's the ones we're not using, Desia. So let me understand what you're proposing. Johnson & Johnson vaccine was temporarily paused in the US. There are reports that suggest an increased risk of a rare adverse effect called thrombosis. Y'all have heard of DVT, deep vein thrombosis? You get that when you travel oftentimes long distances, and you're sitting in a plane at high altitude for a long period of time, you will get a blood clot, not blood clot, but a blood clot in this instance. You will get a blood clot that will travel to certain areas and kill you. So the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and I want to say AstraZeneca as well, but I'm going to double check. Let me not throw AstraZeneca under the bus, but definitely the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has this association. So you would rather take that than Pfizer because someone has told you you're ineligible to take an mRNA-based vaccine. Why are you ineligible? So you want us to introduce vaccines into this country that actually have a higher risk of giving you blood clots, so that all the misinformation that's out there, all the people claim, oh, my uncle died of a blood clot after he got the vaccine. Why he not getting the one that caused him that, honey child? Can y'all please spread this wide and far? The vaccines that are associated with that, we don't have in Cayman. So y'all talking a bunch of blood clot foolishness. How can that be? Do your research. Yes, this is a serious side effect. Despite that, they're still saying, well, it's not that many cases to stop using the vaccine. And they're going to continue to monitor the safety of both that and other vaccines. Let me see if I can pronounce this big fancy word. Thrombocytopenia syndrome. Lord Jehovah. Let me see what dictionary.com says about it, if I even got that right. And then I want to talk about y'all making fun of this government for mispronouncing words. Can we get a pronunciation? Ooh, my dictionary.com is like, we're not even trying that word, honey child. Don't come with it. Hold on here now. Come on, dictionary. Give me a pronunciation. I think they want to pronounce the easy words, the ones I don't need help with. Ooh, they're going to tell. Oh, yes. Thrombocytopenia. There we go. I think I did pretty good with that one. You got to break it down phonetically. Thrombocytopenia. So these are serious side effects of these other vaccines. The other thing of note, Desia, that I would say in relation to this, so if you're willing to take the increased chance now of getting blood clots, then, knock yourself out. But don't blame the government. Don't just come back then and say the government trying to kill you. Okay? The other concern is how effective these other ones are. Johnson & Johnson is not really as effective as Pfizer or Moderna. I mean, let's be honest here. So what y'all need to do is a comparison of the COVID vaccine. Now, I mean, on the one hand, the argument could be, well, even if it's not 90-something% effective, even if I'm going to do the Chinese one and get 50-50, then I guess that's okay. YaleMedicine.org did a very interesting article comparing the different vaccines, and there's a number of other people who have as well. They've looked at Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, all comparing them in terms of how effective they are. Moderna was actually 95% effective at preventing hospitalization. This is according to Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. Pfizer was 80% effective at preventing hospitalizations, and Johnson & Johnson was 60%. So now you're telling me that you want less protection with Johnson & Johnson. And I'll send you this link, honey child, so you can read this for yourself. Plus, you want an increased risk of things like thrombosis, aka blood clots. Careful what you're asking for. Okay. You have to be very careful. The Mayo Clinic also has a comparison between all of the different vaccines, effectiveness, right? Dosages required, side effects. So again, Moderna associated with myocarditis. Remember the heart situation? So is Pfizer. But the list of side effects for Johnson & Johnson, folks, is a lot longer, including how do you pronounce this one? Guillain-Barré syndrome. So what is it about Pfizer that you say makes you ineligible? None of them contain eggs, latex, or preservatives. That's across the board. Pfizer and Moderna, well, actually, right now, Pfizer is the only one that has received full approval, age 16 and older. Moderna is still operating under emergency use authorization. And so is Johnson & Johnson. So they've not even gotten as far in the process as Pfizer. So again, come and explain to me why you think that Pfizer is not the option for you. I'm just asking. Now, this other vaccine, the Chinese one, we can certainly talk about this one. In most comparisons, that one does not even show up on the, what the hell is it called again? Hold on, let me look it up here now. For most people, that one doesn't even show up on the radar, child. I gotta tell you the truth. Which in and of itself should tell you a lot. It's not in wide use by most countries around the world. Sinopharm vaccine. All right. So do your research on the Sinopharm vaccine. And if you would rather take your chances with that, again, it's not going to be as, effective, then go ahead. Dr. T's bringing it in. I'm sure he'll bring it in for you. He'll bring in some extra dosages. So Pfizer, Moderna, or mRNA vaccines, AstraZeneca, that's the Oxford AstraZeneca, the Sputnik V, CoronaVac, these are ones y'all never even heard about, but that's what they're using in Russia. Oxford, AstraZeneca, and Sputnik V use viral vectors, as well as Johnson & Johnson. CoronaVac and Sinopharm use inactivated virus. There's a lot of other vaccines out there, y'all just want to start bringing in all sorts of stuff. Not as effective. And you can go and read up on all of these, my friends, to get information. Let me see. The Sinopharm vaccine is a Chinese state-owned pharmaceutical company. Sinopharm has also announced optimistic results. Now, y'all want to talk about you don't believe the Chinese and nothing else. I'm really shocked that people would rather believe the Chinese with anything, much less a vaccine. But knock yourselves out. You want to take it? Like I said, Dr. T's bringing it in. So they say here that it's very similar to the CoronaVac, which is the other Chinese vaccine. And both are based on an inactivated version of the COVID-19 virus. Well, that'll kickstart a few other conspiracy theorists. I don't know about billions of people getting vaccinated. Really, Jonathan? Are you kidding me right now? Yeah, it's over 5 billion people. I just need to try to remember if it's if that's total vaccinations or at least one jab, but it's over 5 billion people. You see, this is what I said to that person yesterday in the conversation. Just because you don't know something don't mean that it's not a fact. And I get that it's sometimes hard to keep up with facts, but this is part of my job. Desia says you missed the point. Well, help me understand. What is the point? The point is you can have a choice. The choice is there in law. You just need to source it. The government has been getting its batch controlled, quality controlled, et cetera, from the UK, and they have relied on that. So she said people have allergies and they can't take it. I don't know about the government bringing in AstraZeneca. I know that there was a small percentage of Moderna that was brought in. But you can bring them all in pretty much. The ones that are approved through the UK. So thank you, Miss Ava. Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, even this Sinopharm one, the government has said you can bring it in. AJ says, stop trying to mandate this vaccine. You mean like every other vaccine that you take? Again, AJ just isn't listening. They've researched this vaccine for 6 months. AJ, did you hear what I said? But Desia, but you're also saying you're happy with the increased risk of blood clots, the Guillain-Barré syndrome, or whatever else. So, I mean, anaphylaxis isn't normally going to kill you if you can get to a shot immediately. And I know people with serious allergies, all sorts of stuff, even nuts. And if they don't get to take their, oh gosh, what is the name of the shot again? Help me out here. Where's Nicole? I feel like I need Nicole for this. Yeah, if they don't get that, what the hell? Anybody has allergies here? What's the name of the shot that you get that you have to stick in your thigh in case you come in contact with certain foods or nuts or whatever? Because that'll kill you. And anybody who gets anaphylactic, if it's serious enough, EpiPen. Thank you, Marshall. I couldn't think about it. I always think of Nicole. I have a girlfriend named Nicole. About this EpiPen situation, because I remember many years ago, we went to one of these fancy restaurants, right? We didn't go to a restaurant. We were at a chamber event at, I want to say it was the Ritz. Not long after the Ritz opened, everybody got to have their events there, right? And so she told them she has severe food allergies and she'll go into anaphylactic shock. Everything gets swollen. Your airwaves get closed off. You will die. So she tells them, you know, here is my allergies. Don't bring me anything that has this on it. So they say, okay, send it to the chef. Special requests, medical allergies, blah, blah, blah. She walks with her bracelet on, the whole 9 yards. So they bring out her plate of food first for a table and they give it to her and she starts eating. 30 seconds into her meal, they run out. Stop, 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 stop. We gave you the wrong food. And she was like, what? But in that moment now, she doesn't have time. I'll double check because I thought it was Moderna, but I'll double check. Maybe it was the AstraZeneca, but I thought it was the Moderna. I'll double check. So she said, oh my gosh, we need to take your plate back. She just handed me the EpiPen. I had not even seen an EpiPen in like legit life before. She's like, here's what you have to be prepared to do to save my life today. Because if they've given me the wrong thing, this has nuts in it and I'm highly allergic to nuts. You have to stick this in my thigh. If you see me start to react in any way, I may not be able to do it myself. I need you to stick it in my thigh in order to save my life. I was like, but Jesus Christ, I'm going to save somebody's life today and I have to do this. I have to stick you where? In the thigh. I was just like, I'm not ready for this. it was too much stress. Thankfully, they then came back and said, oh, sorry, that was a mistake. Yes, your food is okay. She's like, what? Sandy, hold on to the EpiPen just in case, because these people don't seem like they know what they're doing. I was like, So you have the Sinopharm option, folks. Again, it's another Chinese vaccine based on inactivated version of the COVID-19 virus. It's approved by regulators in the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain after they announced that it was safe, the Chinese, and effective in preventing COVID-19 infections. They claim that it's 79% effective, but of course, they don't really have any oversight bodies in China. So y'all take your chances with the Chinese. Go right ahead. I'm not saying nothing more about that. That was based on a trial of around 31,000 volunteers. It's a 2-dose vaccine. It comes at a cost of about $75. Standard refrigeration, they said, is needed. The World Health Organization in May gave it emergency use authorization. And it is the first non-Western vaccine to have received that. So they have published a study involving 40,000 volunteers on May the 25th in vaccination centers in Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Jordan. Middle Eastern thing going on here. So certainly have a look at those options. Johnson & Johnson isn't particularly effective, but there you go. That's also an option. It comes with blood clot concerns. Okay, so make sure you just know, because I don't want y'all then claim the government trying to kill you. Bring it in and take it, but know what the side effects potentially are. And there are other ones out there. Okay, let's move on, folks. Alex says government should only bring in the Pfizer. You know what they say about opinions, honey chow. Miss Brenda says they said they'd be bringing in a small amount of AstraZeneca. Yeah, I'll double check. Thank you, Miss Brenda, for that. Oh, thank you, Desia. It was AstraZeneca. Why did I think it was Moderna? I feel like there was something in the news about Moderna locally being available, but maybe it wasn't government that was bringing it in. It was somebody else. So now you can go to your private physician, folks, and get your vaccines. So you can request whatever vaccines you want, basically, as long as they're approved by some government body. And yes, we do have protocols in place. A lot of people were confused, I think, about the regulation changes, saying, well, why is the chief medical officer the only one that can approve it? I'm like, say what? That's the way it's always been, number one. And number two, they've just made it specific to COVID-19 vaccines. But there has to be some person responsible, ultimately, for the approval of any legitimate drugs into this country. And that is the chief medical officer, regardless of who he or she is. That's their job. Because it's their job to do the necessary research and know whether these vaccines have been approved by organizations that can be trusted or not, and whether they're safe or not. So that is, I thought it was really weird when people were trying to criticize that, like, oh, why is Dr. Lee? This isn't about Dr. Lee. Now, I know the poor man has fallen from grace like the devil did when he made Eve eat the apple. Boy, y'all used to love your Dr. Lee during lockdown, and then all of a sudden now, y'all killing the man, drudging up stuff from his past that has no implications on what is happening right now, but just trying to make a point that you no longer like Dr. Lee and you no longer trust him. Well, that's your choice. And I can understand why a lot of people feel that way. But separate him from the title of chief medical officer for a minute. That person has always been the responsible party. Always. For approving anything that comes in. That's why he ran into some legal trouble with the vaping situation. But that's his job, and he's going to take his licks, and if he can't take them no more, he can pack up his bags and go. That's how it works. Ruth says she still loves her some Dr. Lee, boy. What a hot mess. So Miss Ava says the Sinopharm is not as effective in stopping people in contracting the coronavirus, but it's more effective in preventing deaths. The government has said we can bring it in, but we cannot give it to anyone. Well, isn't the grounds on which you're bringing it in is that you said you're bringing it in for personal use? You're not bringing it in to vaccinate other people. So, I mean, I do, you know. She also makes the point that what we have here being approved is because it's been approved in the UK. Sue still likes Dr. Lee. All right, let's move on to talk about politics for a little bit. So I've seen a number of comments about this government. Ooh, child, y'all going hard at him. And I had to chuckle because I remember during the last government's tenure, we were going hard on John sitting every day mispronouncing words, speaking in tongues and foreign languages. The moon man, talking about moon and sex and the donkey analogy. So on the one hand, I don't really have any issues with people taking a jab at this government. You know, it's what happens. If you think this is going to be an easy ride and, you know, you think that, I don't know, it's a popularity contest and you're always going to be on top when you're in politics, child, you just don't have a clue. What is going on? One minute they love you, the next minute they're hating on you. That's the world of politics. And so all I can tell you is get on it. Y'all already start trolling people on WhatsApp now. Get on it, folks. And, you know, if you've entered that world, it's part of what comes with it. You know, you get the good and the bad. People are going to be critical of you. And yes, people are going to make fun of you. So people have been making fun of poor Sabrina and her pronunciation of certain words. Now, I want to be fair to Sabrina because y'all know when I had to go hard at Sabrina, I most certainly did. Y'all claimed that I made the woman potentially cry and she was all up in her feelings. You know, you got to be honest and then you just keep it moving. You move on. Honesty can be a tough pill to swallow, even for me sometimes. The cold hard truth can be a little bit like, ugh. Swallow it and move on. We can still be cordial. Let's just keep it moving. I remember at the prayer breakfast that Mr. McKeeva hosts every year, right? Sabrina was the MC, and I was sitting at a table with some people, and somebody said to me, does she always talk like this? And I thought about it for a second. I said, you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. This is a objective analysis of the situation. I believe that Sabrina has been a radio personality for many years, because remember now she hosted the Business Buzz for like 10 years or whatever. And I don't know if you guys weren't listening to that, but that was the way that she was always talking on the Business Buzz for 10 plus years. And I think what has happened is she has become acclimated, used to speaking in that particular tone of voice and that particular way. And it does come across as very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Very Fake is probably the best word that I can come up with. Very like, it's not a natural tone of voice, you know? It is what it is. I think the other thing, Darlene says annoying, pretentious. Yes, Charm is so English. She's such a lovely English girl. She's like, no, darling, please say pretentious. That's a much more appropriate term for what you're trying to say here. Darlene says annoying. Maria says changes a lot. DNO. Al says fake. And Charm says that's how she sounds. Robotic, says Rena. If you ever go back, you can go back and listen to her on the show. That's exactly how she was in A Business Buzz. Now, I think the Business Buzz didn't do her any favors in terms of preparing her for the world of politics and public speaking. And let me tell you why this is my opinion. First of all, they always prepped Sabrina for the Business Buzz. Like, she had a script and she would read from that. And I've been on the show with her before. And I would see her reading, like every question, she has the question verbatim and she reads it. Don't read your speeches, folks. Take it from someone who has been giving speeches since I was in high school, child. I was part of the debate team. I've given speeches. I've fallen flat on my face sometimes with my presentations. You know, I was a member of Toastmasters. I'm always trying to up my game in terms of my speaking capability. And depending on where you are, so this format is very different. Sorry. Right? I don't prepare any notes, like show notes, or I don't write anything out like this is exactly what I want. I don't do that because this is a very, y'all know sometimes I go off on a tangent. You're like, what's Sandy talking about? There's no show notes here, folks. This is a natural show. This is what it is. Okay. And I suppose that maybe that's what some of y'all actually tune in for, is just the natural flow of conversation that we can have. The script doesn't help the situation because you're more likely to speak in this pretentious, fake, annoying, whatever the heck you want to call it, voice, robotic, if you are reading a speech that somebody else has prepared, right? Put the speech in the shredder and just have your talking points of what you wish to address. You got to know your stuff. So knowing your stuff, just like John used to sit there and he'd be reading and fumbling all over the words. And, you know, he was saying, instead of PCR test, he was saying CPR test and all kind of foolishness. I think poor John, I don't mean to pick on him, but his intellectual capacity not really at the top either. You know what I'm saying? So some of his struggles are more on that level. Like, he just didn't know what the hell you're talking about. But everyone, I suppose, has a preference for how people sound. And it seems like, for whatever reason, her voice is getting a lot of commentary online. Yeah, and Dominique, it doesn't have anything to do with that, but I got to tell you something. If you don't believe that first impressions are lasting impressions, and tone of voice and all those things add to the impressions that people have of you, it's important. It really is. And it has nothing to do with the job she's doing or not doing, but it still makes an impact. Do you know that within the first 90 seconds of meeting someone, you all, me included, come to a conclusion, 7 different conclusions about that person? You don't even know the person. In the first 90 seconds of meeting someone, let me say it again, you draw 7 conclusions about that person. Everything from their educational level, financial status in life, even their morality within 90 seconds. And everything nonverbal and verbal leads you to those conclusions. Now, first impressions can be wrong. How many of you have not before had a first impression of someone and You were just wrong. You had no, you end up going, oh, I got to reevaluate what I think about this person. So how someone looks and how they come across, those 90 seconds, that first 90 seconds is extremely important. And mind you, that first 90 seconds is actually before they even open their mouths, just looking at them. Everything from tattoos to jewelry they're wearing, how they shake your hand. They haven't said a word yet. You're assessing them and drawing certain conclusions about that individual. And first impressions, they say, are lasting impressions too. It's very difficult to sometimes get past what you think of a person in those first couple moments. Isn't that amazing? Their social status in life, if they're trustworthy or not. How the hell do you get that? Yes, you do. People decide if you're trustworthy in a 1/10 of a second. Princeton researchers found this out. Yep. They're going to rate attractiveness, competence, likability, aggressiveness, trustworthiness. Babies do it too. If you're charismatic, do you have leadership potential? All these things, the first 90 seconds. Here's one that I always thought was very peculiar. If you're promiscuous, say, what? Yes, honey child. People looking at you, this is a 2007 British study, found that women with visible tattoos were perceived by men and women as less attractive, heavier drinkers, and more promiscuous than females without any tattoos. Stereotypes. But this is the truth. Right? Yep. I'm telling y'all some facts here this morning. All of these things matter. Natasha says, I thought it was just me that found her voice annoying. Child. Based on the comments, it is a popular opinion. And yeah, I think Marshall, when you sit down and you have a one-on-one conversation with her, she doesn't do that. And that's why my personal opinion is it goes back to like, okay, I'm giving a speech. I'm on the radio. I'm on TV. Let me read it. And then she goes into this personality of reading it in a very pretentious manner. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think happens. Hopefully she'll come into her own. But y'all trolling the woman bad about she can't pronounce reiterate. Reiterate. Is that how it was said? Now, let me be very frank with you. This word is one of those words that can very easily trip up a lot of people. So I know that y'all making fun of her mispronouncing the word, but half y'all can't pronounce the word you damn selves. Let me be very frank. Okay. However, yes, she made a little mistake with the word contact tracing, and she said contract tracing. This is a combination of like maybe a little bit of nervousness and mispronouncing words. Yes, it is a little bit funny. I mean, I'll give it to you. But, she will hopefully get better with time. She will improve. Now, what I didn't like with the last batch of people is there was no improvement. Now, if y'all don't remember the words that Alden mispronounced, come on now. And Alden is a lawyer. He's supposed to be an eloquent speaker. He's a QC now, mind you. This damn microphone keep falling over. I keep telling my husband he better find someone in my budget, According to Dr. Frank, I got $1 million in the bank. So I guess I should be able to find some money for a microphone. But she will come into her own. Listen, people, they're getting their feet wet. Give them a minute. And I know a lot of people who are trolling them are the hardcore PPM supporters. I know y'all still on the payroll, some of y'all. And I'm watching you with a very keen eye, 2 eyes, actually. Because you on the PPM payroll. It's so funny, right? People want to they make these little comments like, oh, well, who's paying Sandy to talk about vaccination all day? And and oh, she's saying these nice things about. I'm like, let me try to understand your logic, because something really wrong with your freaking logic, okay? I have never made it a secret that I'm pro-PACT government. Doesn't mean I'm not going to hold their asses to the fire, their feet to the fire, just like everybody else. But I protested to help get this government in, to give the people what they actually wanted, the majority of the people. Now, some of y'all, saucy, will never be happy. So you're still out there on your little drum roll with Alden on the farm. And Alden made some promises to people that this government isn't going to last a year. So hold tight, honey child. Y'all know who you are. I'm not going to name you this morning. But the promise is hold tight, because you're going to still get your jobs that you promised in Europe and overseas offices. That budget's still coming. You're still going to get your $1,000, your $2,000 if we get back in. All of these things have been promised to y'all. Oh, this court office called me. Hold on, child, because they don't call you often. 1 second, Hannah, child.
Hello, it's Franz Manderson, Deputy Governor, on Sunday, September 12th at 6 p.m. I wish to assure the public that every report of a suspected breach is investigated by Travel Cayman, Public Health, and the RCIPS. It is clear that despite numerous warnings, a small percentage of travelers and members of the public are not taking the laws and regulations governing quarantine at residence seriously. I'm aware that 2 cases concerning a breach of quarantine at residence will be in court next week. It may be that further cases involving quarantine breaches may come before the court in short order. It would be unfortunate if criminal prosecution is required for travelers and the wider public to take these matters seriously and abide by the quarantine restrictions in place.
Hey, me and this damn mute button. So I was saying, my apologies, court office was calling. And when they call, you better answer the phone, child, because they don't call you often. Regardless, the progressives are still working overtime because they have a lot of promises that they're trying to deliver on. So they have made promises that this government is not going to last 12 months. It's so funny because people said the same thing about them, but somehow they managed to keep it together for 4 years, didn't they? So they're still trying to deliver on contracts. And I realized that a lot of the people trolling are people who are on the payroll, who are setting up websites and different social media pages to try to position themselves for the next election so they can get the contract of running the progressives campaign for them. And, oh, look, we have as many followers as so-and-so. So, spend your campaign money with us. I see right through you, honey child. I see right through you. Even without my glasses, the game is so incredibly obvious. And that's why there's some people hard up in their feelings right now, saying all kind of ridiculous things about me because they're like, well, Sandy is pro PACT government, so they must be paying her. PACT government has not paid me a fucking dime. I want to make this very clear. Excuse my French this morning, or my English, but I want to make it very clear, because people like Dr. Frank and others who want to push this bullshit narrative really get on my last nerve. Because the irony of it is, you're the same people who need to be paid yourself to do anything. You don't do anything for the right reasons. Isn't that funny? Right. And then the first thing you want to do, because I guess if the cap fits you, you're thinking, is you want to come with your foolishness, your bumbaclat foolishness, and trying to put people in the same light, in the same boat as you, because you're a friggin' sellout. So funny. You go to the highest bidder. Well, as I recall, during the election, when the progressives came a knocking 3 weeks before the election, we turned down their money. We said, no, thanks. We don't believe you're what's the best thing for this country. Keep your money. And you know what I was told? Sandy, it's only business. It's only business, they said. I said, okay, let me think about this now. It's only business. I have a daughter. I have a husband. I got bills to pay. So the money on the one hand looks good. And that is an argument. It's only business. But then these are the same people who will try to take food out of your mouth because they have a vendetta. It's not only business. It's a matter of principle now, yeah? So keep your damn money. It's okay. It makes them feel better to think, oh, somebody's got Sandy in the payroll. Meanwhile, they're the ones who are actually in the payroll. Let me tell you how stupid people are, right? Look, yeah. Sometimes I feel embarrassed as a Caymanian that I even had to have this conversation. Because, it's not just Caymanians listening to the show, but people from all over the world having to listen to this nonsense. And they're just like, what's wrong with Caymanians? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with us is we're some of our own worst enemies. God knows that's the truth. Thank you so much, my dear. Dr. Tomlinson, I do want to speak with you because I think, like I said earlier in the show, that unfortunately your voice was muddled with the anti-vaxxers over the weekend, and I didn't like that. But I don't want that to take away from what you have to say. So you and I need to talk about how to hear what you're saying in a format that isn't quite as crazy. All right, here you know. Remember a couple months ago, I talked about the fact that I was online and I was shocked to see, I can't remember how much it was now. It might have been like $100,000 or something in my bank account that clearly shouldn't have been there because I was like, I ain't got that kind of money. And I thought it was kind of weird, but I'm like, obviously it's a mistake. And I posted it on Facebook, on Instagram, and I talked about it. And everybody's like, yeah, that's a mistake. Money showing up in your bank account. You're kind of like, whoa, what is this? Is this money laundering? So I can't remember the exact amount. But anyway, this was some months back, right? So look at the ridiculousness that someone sent me this over the weekend. So let me address it. This Cayman Voice is apparently anti-PACT government platform. And they also, are coming at me because they think, thank you, Miss Ava. You're absolutely right, because I'm trying not to come down to their level, but boy, sometimes they kind of get under your blood, you see? So this is what this person posted up. What happened to all those thousands of dollars that were accidentally deposited into CMR's bank account by an anonymous depositor? There is no such thing as an anonymous deposit, by the way. This person's so stupid, right? Did she ever give an update on the story, or was that just a cover story? Okay, folks, this is when you're really picking, you're picking with the chickens now, because, okay, first of all, it wasn't anonymous. In fact, I recall, I'm trying to find the post now, but I recall that I actually demonstrated and showed the actual deposit line of who it would have come from. And I don't remember if I just showed the amount or who it would have come from. Here it is, March the 25th. Thank God that everything is saved on social media. Oh, here we go. So I didn't show who it came from, because obviously that is a little bit of private information, but I can assure you that it was sent in error, and I did update y'all. So those of you who watch the program actually know. So here it was, me showing I had $151,000 in my account. Somebody deposited that. That was the deposit amount. And I was like, whoa, what the heck is this? So I said, I'm an honest person, so I'm not touching this money because I don't know where this came from and whatever. I said someone accidentally deposited it. Now you see how people can put words into your mouth? Look at by an anonymous depositor. Where is the word anonymous in this at all? I never said that. I said, never thought this would ever happen to me, but someone accidentally deposited $150,590 into my account. I'm an honest person, so won't touch a dime and instead will contact the bank tomorrow. Now, this person gone and muddled the waters about how I said it was an anonymous depositor. K-Man voice, I don't know which fool you are, honey child. But you even point out the stupidity of your own comment by saying there's no such thing as an anonymous deposit. Well, I never said that. I never said that. And not only did I never say that, but of course I gave an update. CNB, I love me some CNB. They were on the money. As soon as my post went up, child, they were calling and emailing me. That was a mistake. That was somebody trying to put down a deposit on a condo from FCIB, and they accidentally got one number wrong at the CNB account, and it came to you instead. I knew that was what it had to be. I mean, I could see in the narration description what it said. But you see how stupid people are, and they want to be so incredibly foolish, right? They come and they take one little iota of truth, and then they want to weave their own story. Well, y'all need to go weave in somewhere else. Because one thing I do on this platform is I try to always speak the truth. And most importantly, even if the truth applies to me, I try to tell y'all the truth. I sit here every day and share my life experiences, my struggles, sometimes what's going on in my head, because sometimes y'all know that I want to tell y'all a couple of things. I'm like, Sandy, keep it professional. Keep it under wraps, right? I want to tell you about your backside, but I'm like, nope, that's not the right thing to do. But do I think it? Of course I do. I can relate to people who think all kind of stuff. But thinking something, saying it, and doing it are two different things. But I can share the struggles. Now, what I won't tolerate is people lying on me deliberately to suit their own narrative. And so I want to talk briefly about this lawsuit that has been filed against Dr. Frank, because y'all are aware I moved at the speed of light dealing with him. He has made some allegations that are shocking and downright disturbing. I counted almost 30 allegations that have no basis in truth whatsoever. Everything from I tried to take down a plane full of people. Now, you know how serious and disgusting of an allegation that is. And I have broad shoulders and I have relatively thick skin. Now, when I say I have thick skin, let me tell y'all something, right? Having thick skin don't mean that I'm not gonna cuss you behind out. Oh, I'll cuss you out. But like I always said, let's move on and keep it moving. Because I don't believe in keeping in all this pent-up anger, because I think that's bad for your heart. That's why a lot of y'all dropping down heart attacks. Because you need to be having conversations with your spouses, with your children, all these people in your lives that are stressing you out, and you're playing too nice and you're not telling them what you need to tell them. And so that added stress and burden ends up making it horrible on your own health. That's not gonna be me. I may have a heart attack, but it's not gonna be for that reason, because I'm gonna tell you what's really on my mind, right? Now, what I find particularly egregious about what Dr. Frank has done is he has attacked my child, who's only 5 years old. Now, you know you're looking for an asin when you go after my child, right? And if I was as stupid as Dr. Frank and at his level, he shot himself in the foot, okay? Literally and figuratively. I would be dealing with him in a very different manner, but I have to maintain my composure when dealing with a fool. But I'm insulted that you would attach a 5-year-old to any of this disgusting conversation. He also decides to interject my husband into the mix. This man don't know my husband. But for the record, let me be very clear. What I know of Dr. Frank, he could not take his little pinky and dip it in the feces that my husband produces. Y'all hear what I'm telling you? He don't compare none at all. My husband is a good man, and I'm not saying this just because he's my husband. He's a principled man. He's an honest, hardworking man who supports and put his family first. Dr. Frank, acquire some of those characteristics, and then you might be able to mention my husband in one of your ridiculous accusations. Dr. Frank has lost the plot. He's lost his mind. I honestly think there's two possibilities. He's either had a mental health break, or, as we've seen before, when people go on these cocaine and crack binges, they get on radio shows and they say all kind of stuff, and then they get sued, and later on we find out, oh, he was on cocaine. Well, yeah, now it makes a little bit more sense. That's what I honestly think are the two potential possibilities here. But we will handle it in the legal realm. I'm not going to sit here and discuss anything more about it. But of course, again, under the vein of being honest, I couldn't file a lawsuit against Dr. Frank and not talk about it, because then y'all be like, oh, this is suspicious. Why hasn't she mentioned it? What's going on? So I want y'all to know. He has been sued. Now listen to how bright he is. Yes, honey child, he's supposed to be my cousin, but you know what they say about family? Some of them are the worst. We didn't grow up together. We didn't have a relationship. In fact, one of my first memories of Dr. Frank is when I came back to Cayman. Not long after that, he was elected to public office. And I was talking to him about why my application as a notary was turned down. And he said to me, well, child, you're a Caymanian, you're a woman, and you're Black. I'm like, okay, and what does that have to do with this again? That was his response as an MLA back in the day. Anyway. But I will not sit back and allow someone to purposely make some very serious and full of volume. In other words, a lot of allegations about me and my character and not respond to that. Right? Because clearly he's a sick person. And what is also obvious to me, Marshall and Louis, is he's been sitting down collecting clips and snippets of stuff, almost waiting for this moment. Dr. Frank, people don't like ugly. Okay? I was helping you during the campaign, coming from a good place, legitimately trying to help you. You got into your feelings when I told you, don't run in prospect. Oh, who am I to tell you where to run and blah, blah. I said you weren't going to get elected. Definitely not in prospect. You didn't want to listen to me. You got all up in your feelings. Okay. You can't handle the cold, hard truth. That ain't my problem. Once it's the truth. Okay. So I'm going to pray for you, because that is the Caymanian thing to do. Y'all know we love to pray for people. So I will continue to pray for you while dealing with you in a court of law. Now, listen to how crazy this is. So he got served the papers at Smith Cove on Thursday morning. Apparently he was surprised to get served at Smith Cove. People know your movement, sir. And then he turns around and posts it up on his page and says he doesn't believe that this is an actual document, because some foolishness he put up. Somebody sent it to me. Now, you know you're really not dealing with people who straighten the head, none at all, right? Let me help you out, Dr. Frank. I'm going to help you out, because education don't mean you have any common sense. That is becoming more and more evident to the good people of the Cayman Islands every single day. So, Dr. Frank, you may not know this, but you can actually go to the judiciary website. And let me just see if I can find it now. You can look up court cases on their website. You just put in Grand Court Civil All right, let me show you a little screen share here. Since he doesn't want to believe it, let me increase the size on this. He says that he doesn't think this is a real document that has been served on him. Here you go, Dr. Frank. See it right here? Writ of summons, Sandra Hill versus Frank Suarez Matfield, filing date September the 7th. If you had any doubts, and here's the link, judiciary.ky/court search. If you had any doubts about the truthfulness of that document served on you, feel free to go online and check it out for yourself. That's the only advice that I'm going to give you. I'll see you in court, and we will deal with it from there. Thank you, Marshall. Yeah, he should be ashamed of himself at 70-something years old going this low, but you know, what can I say? Alex says he's under stress. Well, I can't help him. And you know, unfortunately, you don't help yourself when you do things like this. He's out there trying to find a job with this government. He wants somebody to give him a salary. And this is the kind of stuff that you're doing, making wild allegations, unfounded, completely fake and made up allegations against people. Come on now. We've made our fair share of mistakes in the area of defamation, but honey child, we have never, ever made up, completely fabricated almost 30 statements against someone, trying to be vindictive. And in fact, you guys know that John, what's his name? John Felder has a default judgment that he's won against me because I didn't respond to his lawsuit because I thought it was so frivolous. I'm like, this guy can't be actually coming after me because he was terminated. And that's what the article said. So that's the truth. But Lord, listen, the man upstairs is good, honey child. Because rest assured that he might have won the lawsuit, but the truth still prevails. Isn't it amazing how CMR could get our hands on a slew of documents, including the termination letter? So now all of these articles have been put back up in a new form, a new article. They're not subject to the lawsuit, but they speak to everything we initially said as actually being honest and truthful. So the man won't lie, but he wasn't terminated, and he's won a default judgment based on that. Well, what is this termination letter dated August 2019 from? Says right here, your ass was fired. Liquidator report. Wow. Hundreds of thousands of dollars that he's owed other people. Right? Yes, that hasn't been paid back. A cease and desist letter from his employer. We talked about all these things. He claimed it was defamation, but now we got the proof in the pudding. See the document right there from the lawyers? An agreement after someone purchased a car from him. 3 years later, they couldn't get their car. Oh, it's all right here, child. Settlement deed and release. Wow. Bam. The truth might be inconvenient to some people, but it will always set you free. And here on CMR, we're in the business of telling you the truth, whether you like it or not, actually. Anyway, my good people, stay tuned. I'm actually in court tomorrow to hear what judgment he's going to get. I think the good people of the Cayman Islands have had a number of people, even in a business capacity, step up and say, Sandy, we got you. We'll make a contribution to whatever this frivolous judgment is. We will make a contribution to help you out. And I really appreciate that because I think it speaks volumes when people have nothing to gain from you and they're willing to step forward and say, you know what? You were doing the right thing. You were trying to do right by people, to warn them about individuals like this, still trying to operate and do business in the Cayman Islands, still trying to find business partners. Now his business partners can go read all these documents and draw their own conclusions about what type of person he is. And so I've had people say to me, you know, we got you, honey child. We're going to help you in any way that we can. Isn't that amazing? You know, you can't buy that type of support or loyalty when you stand behind the truth. And that will be the case whether it's the political truth, talking about this government or any other government, whether it's scammers and other people in this community who are looking to take advantage of others. The truth doesn't need a crutch or a leg to stand on. It is what it is. Sometimes we get it wrong, and I apologize for those minority of times that we get it wrong. Sometimes they're epically wrong. But our intent is never to put out misinformation out there. You know? We're here to lend a voice to the average person on the street who's like, what is going on around this place? To bring you information, food for thought. Marcel says, God is good. Yes, honey child. Always got your back. Nicole, going back to vaccinations and unvaccinated people taking that bed space, that is an ongoing, very, very serious concern. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'm sure of it. And yeah, on nobody's payroll yet. I had an aunt say to me, oh, I heard some company bought at CMR. And I said, oh, honey child, please tell me where I can go pick up my paycheck. Which company was this and where's the money? Because, you know, they just throw these rumors out there. I said, well, where's my money, auntie? Well, I don't know. I'm like, oh, okay, because I don't see it in my bank account. And if y'all keep going on about government paying me, I gotta go to Wayne Patton and say, Wayne, where's my money? I need $100,000 in my bank account right now, please. Y'all need to get it together. It is what it is. The cold hard truth. That's right, Alex. You know what is so crazy is people don't even know how I earn my money, but they want to speak on it. I've been in business for almost 20 years, y'all. Don't be coming for me because you don't have a clue. And I work damn hard for my coins. So don't be trying to begrudge me. Poor old Dr. Frank talking about, oh, I got a car, a fancy car in a house, both which are over 5 years old. That's what you all up in your feelings with? A 5-year-old car? Heaven forbid I need to replace it? What the hell are you going to say then? Might tweet them. Y'all need some help. Louis, Alex, Nicole, Marshall, Miss Barbara. Miss Marjorie's sending out birthday greetings to her son, Damien. Bancroft says, enjoy your special day. Happy birthday, Damien. Dr. Steve, Miss Ava, the beautiful Tommy joining us in the Bahamas. Jonathan, Irvelin, Neil. Ralston said, yes, you're right about first impressions, because I had that experience with the woman that I thought of wrong. And that woman has become one of the most important personalities in my life. Wow. That's awesome. Yes. Turn it around, honey child. You can do it. Irvelin says you're firing some shots this morning. Sometimes it just happens that way. I want y'all to have a beautiful day. Lots of mask mandates returning. Yes, certain grocery stores are going to be implementing it. All the banks are pretty much moving in that direction. Miracle brokers, if you're going there, carry your mask, call in advance for your car pickup documents. Transactions online, if you can pay the bills online, do it online, folks. Most places you don't have to be cluttering up in anyway. Everton, yes, joining us from the US of A. Thank you, Everton. Big up to all of my CMR peeps. Miss Sue, Ruth, yes. Carolina, Sue, let me see. Oh, Maria, Miss Darlene from the UK. Desia, Miss Brenda, of course, was here. Chanel, thank you guys so much. You do know that you make this the #1 show in the Cayman Islands, right? I appreciate it. I love it. I love you guys. Thank you. And have a beautiful day. I'll be back here tomorrow. I got to go to court. There's a lot popping off in court this week. And I got to bring y'all some court news, child.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.